because I have a pretty loud voice. I'll push the mic more away. Before we get started, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag, and I would like a prayer for everybody that's sick in the village and for our military. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everybody. Come on in. Okay, so right now, the voting box, which is the gray bin up here, was brought from Buckingham yesterday and locked in the trustees' room overnight and just brought out a little while ago. I have the key to open it, so none of the votes could have been tampered with.
You got papers if you want to walk down.
I'm good.
I'm going to give you these to start with.
Never will.
Reach down. This one has to be taken. Did you take this one down?
And she'll answer your question.
You can start opening the ballots. What I have here is the invalid box. Now, we have been working every Wednesday for the month of March. And the first Wednesday that we went in, we updated all the labels. We have 24 voting books. Each unit, it goes by your unit number. Each unit number has a page in the voting book. Unfortunately, over the past year, some people have passed. Other people have moved into their unit. So the label has to be changed on that sheet. So that's how we do that. And we had quite a few this year, unfortunately. Now, the next week that we came in was March 19th. And we opened up the voting box, and for the people that voted on paper, we go in, take each envelope, read the back of the envelope, the signature, the printing, and then the unit number, go into the voting book for that unit, and with a red pen, we write that they voted. I put my initials, we put AB, absentee ballot, TR for trustee, and the year in red ink. Unfortunately, we have some people, and right here I have 13 invalid votes for that day and 1 delinquency. You have to be paid up to be able to vote. Now, unfortunately, we get this back. They do not put it in the number 10 envelope. We cannot use this vote. We have no verification what unit this vote came from. Unfortunately, we get this. Again, I have no idea what unit they come from. Some of the people here, they didn't sign the back of their ballot to make it valid. So this is what we go through to make the election 100%. And so on the 19th, we had 13 invalid and 1 delinquency. The next Wednesday, on the 28th, we had 18 invalid. Again, people are not following instructions. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that did not return the number 10 envelope, just the ballot, have no idea what unit voted. Here, no signatures on the back. This is the work that we do on a weekly basis to make sure that nobody is voting twice. Now, we were thrown a little bit of a curveball that they started the e-voting, okay? So now, on the 28th, when Laura and I and the group came up, the election committee came up, this is what we had to do, an extra step. So, this is how the e-voting, how we were able to tell the e-voting. Anybody that voted electronically was printed out here. Their unit number was printed out. So I'm just going to take one for instance. We had to then take out all the voting books, go down into every voting book, check every unit number to see if they did a paper ballot. How did we know they did a paper ballot? I already told you it was written in red ink, 2025, with my initials or the girls' initials who did that particular book. So we found out that we had 186 e-votes. 33 were duplicates. And 3 were invalid because of delinquencies. So, out of the 186, we had 150 good e-votes. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible that everybody understands the process that we went through, that nobody could vote twice. And I know people had a lot of questions because our administration office got a lot of questions. I personally got phone calls, my panel personally got phone calls, trying to explain to everybody that you only could vote once. If you voted on paper, you can't go on the computer and vote again. So that is the system of how we work that. Now, I only have a few people here, so I'm going to give you a chance if anybody has any questions, a question for me about the e-voting. Yes, Harvey?
I would like to know who authorized starting the e-vote in the middle of the voting period when ballots were already sent out, and it would be obviously more work for you to make sure there was no duplication, which you just illustrated.
Right, well,
so why would you do something like that makes it even more difficult to do?
Well, that is a very good question, Harvey, and my answer is, it wasn't up to my panel. The board opted to have both. And unfortunately...
That's the answer I wanted to get.
Hold on. Unfortunately, it was in the middle of the process already. So hopefully next year, I'm all for change and all to do it better.
Me too.
So hopefully next year, if we include the e-voting, it will start when we do the paper ballot.
That's just it.
I just want to let everybody know where I'm coming from. What I am interested in, that we have a fair election, And I'm interested in, are we satisfying the Radburn law, which we have to satisfy? So that all has to be looked at if we still have to mail out to everybody. That is something that the lawyers have to look into, and they have the year to look into how we have to satisfy that. It might be as simple as having, let's say myself, I want to vote online. It might be as simple as me going into online and saying, I verify that 657B wants to vote online. That could be then a list be made, and then those people would not get paper ballots sent out to them. But again, it's got to be made sure that it satisfies the Radburn law. Okay, any more questions? Yes?
So satisfying this Radburn law, the fact that this was switched up in the middle of the election period.
Right.
Did that satisfy the Radburn law?
Well, I think it does because everybody got a mail-in ballot. Everybody as far as we know, everybody, and as far as Lois in the office told me, everybody got a mail ballot to their house. The people in Florida got it mailed to their address in Florida. Now, don't forget, we have people in here, unfortunately, their parents have passed away, and they live in Oregon, or Washington, or Georgia, or South Carolina. We know because of the voting books, that those labels are there, and that those votes, ballots, get mailed to them, to their address, to the owner's address, even if they're out of state. Yes?
So, in addition to that question, my question was before you said your panel didn't make this decision, which I understand, but there is some...
The trustees made the decision, yes.
Can someone speak to the question that Harvey had? Why that decision? Who thought that this was a good idea to introduce another way of...
Well, I told you, the trustees made the decision to have the e-voting.
So there's board members here, so can someone explain how they came to that decision?
Tom, Tom and Judy, you're here. Do you have a reason why you wanted to do the e-voting in the middle of the voting?
It was a lot of confusion for people. People were thinking they could vote twice. Do we have to vote twice? I mean, you know.
I know, but...
It was a board decision. That's all it is. Not that the rest
Okay,
didn't have.
you know what?
It's a board decision.
I understand your question, but I want you to let me, I explained to you how people couldn't double dip. I explained to you how the computer company that did this program for us, for the e-voting, and originally we had 186, and I have the breakdown of the e-votes for each candidate with that. Now we had to go back to the company yesterday, and they had to give me a revised list of the 150 that were eligible to e-vote. So if you only voted on the computer, your vote is counted, and it's right here. If you did it both, only the paper ballot is going to be called out. So I'm going to right now, on your desk there, I gave you a sheet for e-voting. So I'm going to go down right now, the candidates, they're e-voting. Okay?
Yep.
You ready?
Yep.
Susan Farrell, 104. Deborah Forte, 99. Harvey Berman, 97. Paulette Carini, 94. Kathleen McAndrews, 86. Am I going too fast? Yeah. Who was after? Benji Blakeman, 66. Okay, now we have others. Okay? Now I have a few others that were written in on the e-votes. Kathy Dory, she got 3 e-votes. Fraser Corrali, 1 vote.
Who was that?
Fraser, F-R-A-Z-S-E-R, and C-O-R-R-E-A-L-E, 1 vote. Put this on top. Sam Lewis, 1 vote. Okay, now, when we're done totaling the paper, when we're done with all the paper ballots, Denise will put the paper ballot total here, the e-vote, and then the total. We'll give you the total of their paper ballot and e-vote together. Okay? And if we have any more that are written in, then we have to, not here, but write them in over here. So over here, Denise has each candidate on these 2, when we call them out, and over here will be the easel for the other votes. We have Laura Perlin and Sandy Giancola, who are they have to match with their votes when they do the tallies. And Sandy and Janice are opening up the votes.
Can we take a break?
We're not taking a break yet.
Who said you deal with you?
That's right, you were in a union.
Okay, you want to start from the end of the votes here? Well, I know they're voting for 3.
How you doing? I'm all mine for a minute.
Okay. Everybody ready? The first ballot, 1 vote for Susan Farrell, 1 vote for Debbie Forte, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew.
Hold on, you have to go a little slow. Yes.
Okay, I'll slow down. Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte,
Bottom 3.
Bottom 3.
and Kathleen McAndrew. Everybody ready? The next vote, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. One vote for Pauline Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. One vote for Harvey Bergman, 1 vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, and 1 vote for Deborah Forte. One vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Susan Farrell, and 1 vote for Deborah Forte. One vote for Harvey Bergman, 1 vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. 1 vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Deborah Forte, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot only has 1 vote, and the 1 vote goes to Harvey Berman. One vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Susan Farrell, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. 1 vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, and 1 vote for Deborah Forte. 1 vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Susan Farrell, and 1 vote for Deborah Forte. This ballot has 2 votes only, 1 for Harvey Berman and 1 for Deborah Forte. This ballot has a vote for Harvey Berman, a vote for Paulette Carini, a vote for Susan Farrell, and a vote for Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has a vote for Harvey Berman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, and Deborah Forte. This ballot has a vote for Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. This vote is a vote for Harvey Berman, a vote for Benji Blakeman, a vote for Susan Farrell, and a vote for Kathleen McAndrew. A vote for Harvey Berman, a vote for Benji Blakeman, a vote for Pauline Carini, and a vote for Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in. Harvey Berman, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, and a write-in for Kathy Dory. One vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Deborah Forte. I was asked to repeat. So this ballot has 1 for Harvey Berman, 1 for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Deborah Forte, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in. Harvey Berman, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, and the write-in goes to Kathy Dory. This ballot, Harvey Berman, 1 vote, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in. 1 vote goes for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Susan Farrell, 1 vote for Deborah Forte, and the write-in is for Kathy Dory. This ballot has a vote for Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot, Harvey Berman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, and Deborah Forte. This ballot, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 4 votes, 1 for Benji Blakeman, 1 for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Susan Farrow, and 1 vote for Deborah Forte. Okay, now this ballot has 4 write-ins and 4 votes, but the write-ins they wrote for all their candidates that they checked off. So I can read this because they're exactly the same. So 1 vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Susan Farrow, and 1 vote for Deborah Forte. One vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, and 1 vote for Susan Farrow. One vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Susan Farrow, 1 vote for Deborah Forte, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. On this ballot, I have 3 votes and 1 write-in: Harvey Berman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen Dory. One vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Deborah Forte, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. One vote for Benji Blakeman, 1 vote for Susan Farrow, 1 vote for Deborah Forte, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. 1 vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Deborah Forte, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in: Harvey Berman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. The write-in is for Kathy Dory. This ballot, 1 vote for Harvey Berman, 1 vote for Paulette Carini, 1 vote for Susan Farrow, and 1 vote for Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has only 3 votes. 1 goes to Harvey Berman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot, Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. This ballot, Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. I'm going to wait a minute for Laura to straighten them out. Thank you, Laura. This ballot has only one vote, and it goes to Paulette Carini. This ballot has 4 votes, one for Harvey Berman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Berman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot, Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 1 vote and 1 vote only, Paulette Carini. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in, Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and the write-in goes to Kathy Doyle. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blademan, Susan Farrow, and Kathleen McAndrew. I'm going to bundle these up. Okay, I'll continue now. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot only has 3 votes. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. And again, this person voted and then they wrote them all in on write-ins, but it's the exactly same candidates that they voted for. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot only has 3 votes. They go to Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Unfortunately, this vote I cannot count. They voted for 5 people. And I don't know what 4 they want. So unfortunately, this has to go in the invalid box. This ballot, they voted for 2 people, Harvey Bergman and Susan Farrow. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blademan, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot, they voted for 3 people: Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. This ballot, Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Kathleen McAndrew. Again, they did it, the same people checked off that they wanted written in. And that is Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes, 1 write-in. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. The 1 write-in is for Kathy Dory. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Do we have any more in the bin? Okay, everybody ready?
Yep.
Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes and 3 votes only. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. 3 votes and 1 write-in. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. The write-in vote goes to Kathleen Dory. This ballot has 2 votes only. The votes go to Harvey Bergman and Paulette Carini. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in. The votes go to Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and the write-in is for Kathleen Dory. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Three votes only on this ballot, and they go to Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Three votes only on this ballot, and they go to Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini. This ballot has only 3 votes and 1 write-in. Harvey Bergman, Suzanne Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Write-in for Kathleen Dory. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Susan Farrow. One vote for Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. This ballot has 4 votes, 1 for Harvey Bergman, 1 for Benji Blakeman, 1 for Paulette Carini, and 1 for Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 1 vote and 1 vote only for Paulette Carini. This ballot has a vote for Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot is for Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in. Harvey Bergman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew, and it's a new person. Julie, Julie, and it's Elstrom, S-T-R-O-M. Correct. This ballot has 4 votes: Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Okay. Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew, and Harvey Berman. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You need a break?
No, I'm good.
Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has only 2 candidates marked, and 1 vote goes to Harvey Berman, and 1 vote to Susan Farrow. Three votes and 1 write-in: Harvey Berman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and the write-in goes to Kathy Dory. Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Berman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Berman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Berman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 1 vote and 1 vote only for Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Berman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Three votes and 1 write-in: Harvey Berman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen Dory. Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Berman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Three votes and 1 write-in: Harvey Berman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Write-in goes to Kathleen Dory. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Three votes and one write-in. Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. New person, Richard Aiken, A-I-K-E-N. Okay? Okay. Three votes and one write-in. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Kathleen McAndrew, and the write-in goes to Richard Aiken. Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Harvey Berman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Does anybody need to take a break?
Out.
No, you're good? Okay. We'll continue.
80 degrees out. Huh?
Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Susan Farrow. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Okay. This person blacked out the people they didn't want and wrote no next to it, so they only have 3 check marks, so they have 3 votes. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. 3 votes, 1 write-in. The votes go to Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and the write-in is Sandra Giampolo.
You're welcome, Suzanne. Giampola. 1 vote.
Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes and 3 votes only. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Susan Farrow. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in. The votes go to Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen Dory. Three votes only on this ballot: Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Three votes and 1 write-in. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen Dory. 3 votes only. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. 3 votes on this ballot and 1 write-in. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and the write-in goes to Kathleen Dory. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 1 vote and 1 vote only, and that goes to Harvey Bergman.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte,
No, there's no pool room.
Election, nobody allowed?
Nobody's allowed.
Can you do that over and over?
you can't be in there.
You're not supposed to be playing pool.
You gotta kick them out of there.
Okay, it's not on.
Can you go over that one again?
Okay, I said Sue Farrell, right? And you got, everybody got that, Sue
I
Farrell?
didn't get,
Oh.
who was the first one you answered?
Okay, so
Okay, got that.
I stopped at Sue Farrell, but for the interruption, I'm going to start over so the people do not rewrite them. Harvey Bergman,
Okay,
Sue Farrell,
all right,
now the ones I didn't say, Deborah Forte,
okay.
and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Again, this person voted for only 4, but then wrote all those names in the writing, so nothing is different, so I can read it off. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Susan Farrow. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Suzanne Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Again, the person wrote the people they voted for, they checked them off and also wrote them in writings, but it's exactly the same candidate, so we can call it. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. 3 votes, 1 write-in. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and the write-in goes to Kathy Dorr. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte. 1 vote on this ballot, and that goes to Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. There's 3 votes on this ballot: Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Again, the person voted for 4 people, but they also wrote it in the write-in, but the write-ins matched their votes. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Pauline Carini, Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Kathleen McAndrew. 3 votes only on this ballot. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Does anybody need a break?
Do you?
Do you want a break?
No, we're fine.
Do you? Okay, okay. Now, before I continue, I just want to tell everybody here that all these ballots that we announced go back in the lockbox. And then that lockbox gets locked in the trustee's room. Monday morning, it gets brought down to Lois in the administration building. And then Lois opens it up and she saves everything we do except for the envelopes. Everything gets saved. So, anybody that wants to audit the election can make an appointment with Lois in advance to go down and audit the election. That has always been the case. I'm just going to look to see what this person did. I think they sent everything back, but no votes. Well, they sent all the bios back in the envelope, but they did not send any votes back. So this has to go into invalid because we don't know who they wanted to vote for. Get it back. So far, we only have 2 invalids for today. That's very good. Okay, everybody ready? Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow. Only 3 votes on this ballot. They go to Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Three votes and one write-in. Harvey Bergman, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and the write-in goes to Sharon Wagner. Okay. 4 votes. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. 4 votes. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrow, and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Kathleen McAndrew. 1 vote only on this ballot, and that 1 vote goes to Benji Blakeman. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew.
Excuse me now.
Harvey Bergman,
2 and 1.
let me finish this vote. Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Yes, this envelope, when we checked it and we have the check mark on it, these people are at 2 different locations, so they own 2 different homes within the village, so they are entitled to have 1 vote for each unit. Okay? You give that back to her. Harvey Bergman and Deborah Forte. Only 2 votes for this ballot. Again, they voted and then they wrote them all in write-ins, but they matched their votes. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 3 votes only. Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrow, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot only has one vote and one vote only, and it goes to Paulette Carini. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte. This ballot has 3 votes only. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, and Susan Farrell. This ballot only has 3 votes. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, and Susan Farrell. Benji Blakeman, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. This ballot has 2 votes only, and they go to Harvey Bergman and Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Susan Farrell. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Do you need a break?
Soon.
Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Deborah Forte. This ballot has 3 votes and 1 write-in. Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew, Anthony, it's a new one. Anthony, and I'm going to spell the last name. S like Sam, C-H-I-A-N-O. 1 vote. Okay? Yep. Thank you. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte. Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte.
Go down.
Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew.
Stop 1 second.
Okay,
Go down.
That last one, please.
You're going to jail.
did you get Kathleen McAndrew? Did you want me to go completely over the ballot?
Go ahead.
Now, go a little slower.
A little slower? Okay. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Again, this person voted for 4 people, but they also wrote the same 4 people in the writing. So we can use this ballot. Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, Susan Farrell, Deborah Forte. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Paulette Carini, and Susan Farrell. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Benji Blakeman, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. Harvey Bergman, Paulette Carini, Deborah Forte, and Kathleen McAndrew. And we're going to take a break right now. So anybody want to go to the ladies' room, men's room, or get coffee, I will stay here and man the table.